Augustus. Augustus was the first emperor of the Roman Empire and one of the wealthiest rulers of the ancient world. After defeating his rivals and ending the Roman Republic, he established a new political system that brought long-term stability to Rome. This stability allowed trade, agriculture, and taxation to expand across a vast empire, stretching from Western Europe to the Middle East and North Africa. The Roman Empire generated enormous wealth through taxes, tribute, and control of key trade routes across the Mediterranean. Augustus also maintained personal control over large portions of state wealth and resources. He used this wealth to fund massive building projects, strengthen the military, and secure loyalty throughout the empire. Roads, aqueducts, and public buildings were constructed on a scale never seen before. His rule marked the beginning of the Pax Romana, a period of relative peace and prosperity that lasted for generations. The economic strength of the empire during his reign set a foundation that would influence the world for centuries. Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa, the emperor of the Mali Empire in the 14th century, is often considered the richest individual in history due to the immense wealth of his empire. Mali controlled some of the largest gold reserves in the world at the time, producing a significant portion of global gold supply. This gave Mansa Musa extraordinary economic power, allowing him to build a wealthy and influential state in West Africa. His famous pilgrimage to Mecca became one of the most well-known displays of wealth in history. Traveling with thousands of attendants, soldiers, and camels carrying gold, he distributed so much wealth along the journey that it affected local economies in places like Cairo. Beyond this display, he invested in education, religion, and architecture, helping cities like Timbuktu become major centers of learning and trade. His reign represents a peak in both wealth and cultural development in West Africa. Akbar the Great. Akbar the Great ruled the Mughal Empire in India during the 16th century and oversaw one of the richest economies in the world at the time. The Mughal Empire generated vast revenue through agriculture, trade, and a highly organized taxation system that efficiently collected wealth from a large and productive population. India was one of the global centers of manufacturing, especially in textiles, which were traded across Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. Akbar introduced administrative reforms that improved stability and encouraged economic growth. He promoted religious tolerance, which helped unify a diverse population and reduced internal conflict. His court became a symbol of wealth and culture, filled with art, architecture, and intellectual exchange. The prosperity during his reign helped make the Mughal Empire one of the most powerful and economically dominant states of its time. Emperor Shenzong of Song. Emperor Shenzong ruled during the Song dynasty in China, a period known for its remarkable economic strength and innovation. The Song economy was one of the most advanced in the world, driven by agriculture, trade, and technological progress. New farming techniques increased food production, while innovations like paper money and printing helped expand commerce and administration. Under his rule, the government collected large amounts of revenue through taxes and state-controlled industries such as salt and iron. Cities grew rapidly, and trade networks extended both within China and beyond its borders. This wealth allowed the empire to support a large population, maintain a strong bureaucracy, and invest in infrastructure. The economic systems developed during this period influenced future generations and helped shape early forms of a market economy. Charles V. Charles V was one of the most powerful emperors of the 16th century, ruling over the Holy Roman Empire, as well as Spain and its vast overseas territories. His empire stretched across Europe and included newly conquered lands in the Americas. The wealth of his rule came largely from the Spanish Empire, especially the massive flow of silver and gold extracted from the New World. This made his empire one of the richest political entities in the world at the time. However, his responsibilities were equally vast. He faced constant wars against France, conflicts within the Holy Roman Empire, and the challenges of governing such a large and diverse territory. Much of the wealth he controlled was spent on maintaining armies and defending his lands. Despite access to enormous resources, his empire often struggled financially due to the high cost of continuous warfare.
The Qianlong Emperor. The Qianlong Emperor ruled China during the Qing dynasty, at a time when it was one of the largest and richest empires in the world. China had a massive population and a strong agricultural base, which provided a steady source of wealth through taxation and production. The empire also benefited from both internal trade and limited international trade, exporting goods such as tea, silk, and porcelain. Under his rule, China expanded its territory and maintained political stability, which allowed economic activity to thrive. The imperial court displayed immense luxury, with vast collections of art, treasures, and resources symbolizing the empire's wealth. However, toward the end of his reign, signs of economic strain and corruption began to appear, which would later contribute to challenges for the Qing dynasty.
Haile Selassie. Haile Selassie was the emperor of Ethiopia in the 20th century and controlled one of the oldest monarchies in the world. While his wealth did not match that of ancient empires in global scale, he held significant personal and state resources within a centralized system. His authority allowed him to control land, taxation, and key economic sectors in Ethiopia. He worked to modernize the country by improving infrastructure, education, and international relations. However, economic inequality remained a challenge, and much of the population did not benefit equally from the empire's resources. His rule represents a later example of imperial wealth, where traditional monarchy met the pressures of modernization and global change.
Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon Bonaparte rose from a military leader to become Emperor of the French in the early 19th century, controlling much of Europe at the height of his power. His wealth was directly tied to the resources of the territories he conquered, including taxes, tribute, and economic control over large parts of the continent. He used this wealth to build massive armies, fund wars, and maintain administrative control over his empire. Infrastructure projects and legal reforms, such as the Napoleonic Code, were also supported by these resources. However, constant warfare drained the empire's finances and resources over time. After a series of defeats, his empire collapsed, bringing an end to his control and access to such vast wealth.